If you're preparing for the GS3 economy paper, you know that understanding India's energy security is absolutely critical. Well, today, we're diving deep into a major, high-stakes shift in how India imports its oil. We're going to see how a massive bet on West Asian suppliers, a bet made just before the outbreak of war, has put the Indian economy in a really tricky position. So, let's break it all down.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of India's dependency on foreign oil. Then, we'll get into that risky shift towards West Asia and the geopolitical reasons behind it. After that, we'll decode the all-important price factor. And finally, we'll connect all the dots to figure out what this really means for India's energy security.
Okay, so first things first, let's establish the baseline here. Just how much does India rely on oil from other countries? Well, the answer might just shock you. Get this. As of February 2026, a staggering 91% of India's crude oil was imported. This isn't just some number to jot down, it's a record high. It means our economy is exposed to every single little ripple in the global energy market. So if 91% of our oil is coming from abroad, the big question is, from where? And this, right here, is where the data reveals a really fascinating and frankly, risky pivot in India's strategy. And you know, it's the speed of this shift that's so incredible. Just look at this chart. The share of West Asian oil dropped to under 37% in mid-2024, but then it just rocketed back up to over 54% by February 2026. That is a massive swing, and it's the second highest level of dependency on that region in more than 3 years.
And to put that 54.4% figure into perspective, just look at this breakdown. More than half of our oil from one single region. The United States comes in at a distant second, and the rest of the entire world combined, well, that provides less than 20% of our supply. That's what you call a heavy concentration, and as we're about to see, a pretty risky one.
So who are the key players in that dominant 54.4% share? We're talking about a small cluster of nations: Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. This move essentially placed India's energy needs, its economic lifeline, squarely in the hands of one of the world's most geopolitically sensitive areas. Now, a massive shift like this doesn't just happen out of nowhere, right? So what was going on behind the scenes? What were the geopolitical currents that pushed India back towards its old suppliers in West Asia? Well, the main reason was a strategic pivot away from cheap Russian oil. For a while there, India had been buying up a lot of discounted crude from Russia. But with growing pressure from the United States and its allies to stick to price caps and sanctions, India started to pull back on those Russian imports. Now, as India was buying less from Russia, the US did step up and become a major supplier itself. But even at over 26%, US oil just couldn't fill the huge gap left behind by Russia. This created a massive supply vacuum, and guess who was perfectly positioned to fill it? You got it, the traditional suppliers in West Asia.
Okay, so from a purely economic view, this big shift actually seemed to be working out pretty well for India, at least at first. The timing was, you could say, quite lucky, as it happened during a very favorable price environment.
And here's the proof of that good timing. In February 2026, the average price India paid for its crude oil was just $69 a barrel. Now compare that to the average of $78 over the previous year. That's a huge drop. In short, India was buying in bulk right in the middle of a major price crash. This quote from the source material really sums it up perfectly. In the period right before the war, India was playing a game of high-volume imports at very low prices, and on paper, it looked like a brilliant economic win.
But this brings us to the most important part of our analysis, especially for the GS3 paper, the big so what question. What does all of this mean for India's energy security? Why does putting all our eggs in one basket matter so much?
So first, let's just make sure we're all on the same page with this core concept. Energy security is really the foundation of economic stability. It's the guarantee that a country has reliable, affordable access to the energy it needs to run, to grow, to function. And this right here is the fundamental risk. By concentrating over half of its oil imports in a single, historically unstable region, India exposed its economy to some serious danger. Any disruption in West Asia, whether it's political, military, or anything else, could have an immediate and severe impact on India's energy supply. And that risk we were just talking about? It's not theoretical anymore. It's now a very harsh reality. With the war constraining supplies from West Asia, that big gamble India took is now under immense pressure. The advantage of low prices is gone, But the vulnerability of being so dependent, that's still here, creating a perfect storm for the economy.
And this leaves us with the critical policy challenge for any future civil servant. As the world stage keeps shifting, how can India diversify its energy sources to protect its economy while also keeping energy affordable for over 1 billion people? It is the ultimate balancing act, and there are absolutely no easy answers. So, what do you think is the path forward?